The instructions for burial were clear. Following
Don't do it when you're alive.
Yeah, number one, don't do that when you're alive.
Is the client dead? Yes.
Check all corpses, live or dead. No, these were more about what you do with them. So following autopsy, all corpses of the deceased must be wrapped in a sheet moistened with 20% chlorine lime milk or a 10% solution of 2/3 of the basic calcium hypochlorite salt.
That, if you'd asked me, that totally is what I would have guessed.
Then you take the corpse that's been wrapped in the lime milk sheet, and that would be placed in a metal coffin or a coffin made of tightly knit boards, upholstered with oilcloth inside, and on a layer of bleach 10 centimetres thick. And at this point, I think they mean
layer?
Solid bleach. So you can get dry bleach or you can get wet bleach.
Solid bleach.
Yeah, so a layer of 10 centimetres of bleach, then you put the oil-wrapped corpse. The corpse is then covered with bleach from all sides.
Yeah.
The lid of the coffin is nailed down.
Which religion is this? No, we have a very specific ritual.
I know. And, look, and I think that'll be, burial practices obviously vary by culture. I don't know how many cultures.
Science worshippers.
Yeah,
That's
probably.
what I'm seeing.
I must be covered in bleach. The lid of the coffin is then nailed down and no longer opened, obviously. If possible, the coffin is then incinerated.
Oh, stay away from that smoke.
But burn it. In the case of impossibility of cremation, which I'm not sure what it is, like if you
one's got any matches.
If you try to burn this corpse,
Keith, where's the kindling? You son of a bitch! You've done this twice this week.
You half burnt the bleached corpse, but you didn't get there. Then you bury it in the common cemeteries, but probably far apart from the others, if you know. The coffin is buried in the grave to a depth of at least 2 meters.
Wow.
Well, that's just normal, I think.
No, 6 feet's less than 2 meters.
That's true. I think this is just in a country that loves the metric system. That's all. They just chose.
But if I learned anything from the name of a show I've never watched, it's 6 feet under.
I have always known that how deep do you bury a corpse? 6 feet. That's a good number.
And that's less than 2 meters.
I think it's until the undertaker gets to the head height, and they're like, that'll do.
Till you get to China.
So, yes.
Stop digging when you've got to the other side of the world.
I don't think you have to be buried that deep. I think that's overkill. No. In areas of high underground waters, you've got to put the coffin itself inside another dense box, which has been tarred from inside and from above. So cover that in tar if you can't do it.
You don't want them swimming away. I get that.
The space between the walls of the coffin and the coffin, the box or the sarcophagus, is then filled with more dry bleach. And the second box is hammered with a densely tarred lid. So we've got the chlorine lime milk sheet, and then the oilcloth, and then the bleach, and then hammering closed in metal or wood, and then we've got
slightly knitted wood,
and then we're tarring the whole thing if we can't burn it.
Yeah. Then we wrap it in diamonds. We put it in a kiln. That's not a cremation. That's just to seal the box. I mean, okay.
Andrei Rakov and Sergei Zaychikov.
They're the guys who invented Google?
No, they're not. They're not. They were two 30-year-olds who, at the time, had seen a lot of special work. And special work came to me in the article I'm quoting from here, already in inverted commas. And look, you'll guess things based on their names, but special work involved a variety of things.
We are here to do special work.
Yes. Knock, knock, knock.
Bring oilcloth and bleach.
I don't want anyone turning up at my door and say, special work time.
Oh, Jesus. And smiling when they say it.
So they'd done a lot of special work over the years, and as you can imagine, in such brigades, this is the Google Translate of the Russian article. You understand the faint of heart do not work.
In Russia, I feel like most jobs are not for the faint of heart anyway, so that's pretty impressive.
Probably not. And so, but they were a little bit suspicious. They're following all the procedures, but they've just been given procedures. They haven't been told why. So they're like, okay, wrap the corpse, do the corpse, put the bleach, put the tar. So they're a little bit suspicious.
Well, yeah, following the chairman's orders.
And then once, when a coffin fell out of the truck and the lid fell off and the corpse rolled out with all of the bleach. The grave diggers rushed scatteringly. After that, there were no hunters to work with the hammer for quite some time. Welcome to the Wholesome show.
The homeschool show.
The homeschool show, where you play this in your grade 7 homeschool. I don't know much about homeschool learning, but surely podcasts about science are probably good. This one is not a kid-oriented one.
1 in 40 probably is.
Probably.
Yeah.
This one is called The Wholesome Show.
Yes.
The Wholesome Show is me, Will Grant.
Oh, and me, Dr. Roderick Griffin. And what the fuck is this one about, Lamberts? Like, I'm really this confused.
There you go. Corpses in bleach. I've just realised if you're watching us on YouTube, we're kind of very, very matchy right now.
No, my T-shirt is from a bagno in Positano.
Beautiful. Mine is it's the blue with white writing.
No, I agree. I was just showing off because I got it from Italy.
No, I didn't.
We're allowed to travel.
I got mine from the shops. Gone down the shops.
That's good enough.
The Wholesome Show is a product of Good Day Studios and is brought to you by the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Science.
And special work.
Did we say who we are? I think we did. I can't remember.
Yeah. We it's for the kids who sit up the back of the class and we ask dumb questions.
And I'm Will and you're Rod.
Yeah, we've done that.
I think we did that.
We did that.
Listener, obviously we remember everything that has ever happened. It's just sometimes we choose not to.
Yeah, it's clever people forget.
Sverdlovsk.
Oh.
Or as it's now known, and I'm glad that they changed it, but I'm not going to use the new name because it was called Sverdlovsk.
Sverdlovsk?
It's got 2 V's in it, and both of them are closely associated with S's. It's very hard to say. It's now known as Yekaterinburg.
Sverdlovsk.
Well, originally it was Yekaterinburg. Then it spent time during the Soviet Union under a different name, and then changed back recently.
Was it Precinct 731 Suffersville?
There is some definite Precinct 731.
Yeah.
I don't think exactly that number, but not far off. At the time, it was a city of about 1.2 million people.
Wow.
It's a bit bigger now, 1.5 million. I did the Wikipedia search.
That is a bit bigger.
I checked that. But
you're a precocious researcher.
But this is a story set a little bit back in time. So let's get the details right. It was then and is still in the Ural Mountains.
Hasn't moved?
Okay. Hasn't moved. Okay. They haven't moved that bit. And it is still about 1,400 kilometres east of Moscow. That's where the Ural Mountains are.
That's my favourite bit of Russia.
Is it?
Yep.
I would like to go there. In the morning of April the 4th, 1979, in the Chekhovsky district of the city, something strange began to happen.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to quote here from Sergei Parfenov's 2008 article in Ural magazine.
Oh, that is a great magazine.
Oh, yeah.
That is a great magazine.
I imagine a magazine from there would be called Ural Magazine.
Where is my Ural mag?
Well, it's like the Hinterlands magazine or something like that. In the ambulance service, the calls did not stop for no reason at all. People lost their ability to work. Weakness set in. The temperatures rose sharply under 40. The patients had a tearful cough. I think tearful.
Tearful? Terrible?
I've just got to confess here that this is the Google Translate version of Sergei Parfenov's Ural magazine.
Terrible cough.
It could be terrible. It could be tearful.
I've never heard it. I mean, crying because you've coughed so much, sure.
I don't know why Google would go with...
No one knows. Ask the inventors of Google.
Yeah, maybe.
They're in this story.
Nasty vomiting.
As opposed to the nice kind. Yes, okay. Nasty vomiting.
Some people don't mind vomiting.
No, I don't get it.
I don't think anyone likes it. Well, maybe there are people that like it. That sounds like a wholesome episode if ever I've found one.
I can't believe I haven't done that.
Well, the other one I keep thinking about is the sympathetic vomiters.
I'm a sympathetic pooer. If someone goes to the bathroom, I have to go too. You don't do that?
Well... No, I don't. I really don't. Although I do remember as kids when someone would say, "I'm going to go to the toilet," and you're like, "Damn, I do too.
Yeah, good call.
I might as well." Yeah.
I'm imagining more, sympathetic spewers. So someone starts doing the thing, and I definitely, if I'm not careful, I got the. But that's when I thought the idea that if you say you're taking your dog for a walk, it stops to
spew,
empty itself,
or do a poo. Yeah, okay.
The idea that you'd be a sympathetic pooer, I think, is far more difficult to deal with than a sympathetic spewer. I think that would be complex.
Because I don't think it happens. I don't think
there's got to be someone.
I don't think anyone taking their dog for a walk squats down next to them and they put up a sign. They hold up a sign. Anyone walking past, don't worry. I am a sympathetic pooer. I have to.
Yep.
I don't think that happens.
But no, maybe it's not as controlled as that. Anyway, over to you.
Don't take your dog for a walk.
Oh, no, never.
Okay, wait. Patients came in by ambulance, some from home, some from work, while others were taken straight from the street to City Hospital number 24.
Mm-hmm.
There's a picture. There's a picture there of City Hospital.
It looks so different to 23. 23 is slightly less grey.
Number 23 doesn't feature in this. Number 20 does, though.
Oh, yeah.
Just a tiny bit.
Famous one.
Soon there were no more vacancies at City Hospital number 24 because they could only have 100 people. So more patients rolled in and they were sent to the neighbouring hospital, which is number 20.
Of course it is.
Anyway.
That's how numbers work there. You count by fours in Sverdlovsk. Sverdlovsk.
I keep thinking Sverdlovsk.
Sverdlovsk.
Is for lovers. So the chief physician of the 24th hospital, Margarita Ilyenko, she remembers it clearly. Then we really didn't have a hospital. Yeah, it's not a hospital anymore because it was treated in such cramped conditions. All of a sudden, there was an influx of patients, turned out to be completely unexpected, and they were taking them to the other hospital. So people were driven in all the time. There was nowhere to place them. They were put in the corridors, they were put in rooms all over the place, and suddenly the hospital was just chock-a-block.
This is a 1979 Soviet hospital.
1979 Soviet
Which
hospital.
I'm guessing, even on a good day,
is better than a 1974 Soviet
oh,
hospital.
hell yeah. That was a big change in the mid-70s, obviously. But still, I'm guessing not great anyway.
Probably not.
No.
But you don't know. I mean, they had
The good thing, everyone equal treatment.
everyone
Not
gets the
good
same.
treatment,
All
but
the same.
equal.
All the same. You get pill, you get pill, you get pill. I got a sore leg, doc. That's,
It's sort of leg pill. Take.
all placebo. Where were they? People were put in the corridors. People were placed in the wards. Sometimes people would feel better at first, and then they'd try to go home, but then they were found out on the street after they'd fainted. So they just faint out on the streets.
I'm just going to make an early prediction because it's Russia and it's any time before today.
People are going to die.
Radiation related. That's my prediction. Carry on.
Cool. All right. Okay. People began to die.
Yeah.
So Ilyenko, Margarita Ilyenko, who was the boss of the hospital, she remembers first one man, then another. A woman was in critical situation. I sent her to the intensive care unit, artificial respiration, mouth to mouth, useless. 4 corpses per night. Mouth
to mouth?
Yeah, they tried artificial respiration and mouth to mouth.
Oh, God, you do it. No. No, look at this person.
Particularly, well, there's actually a bit of this in there that these people were dying horrifically and very rapidly, and a lot of people were a little bit scared about that. And they're like, I don't want to be around this because we don't know what's going on.
So you're a nurse, get in there and give them mouth to mouth.
Oh, God. And you know, thinking of the number of nurses, doctors who have suffered and died from COVID right now.
I've heard of that.
You know, there's situations where they're seriously putting their life on the line, and so there were a lot of.
And I'm guessing pashing someone dying of Christ knows what while they're spewing, not great.
It's not pashing,
isn't it?
It's.
God, I feel embarrassed.
It's the life kiss. It's the life.
So you don't blow and slap them in the chest.
They suck.
That's not pashing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awkward.
Oh,
I got some apologies to make.
So her doctor, one of the doctors on the wards, called her and she said, "Listen, Ilyenko, 2 of yours have died." And Ilyenko says, "I was taken aback. What about diagnosis? What it was?" And the other doctor says, "It looks like pneumonia." After a while, call came back again. "Margarita, I'm in a panic. 3 more have died. But from what? Toxic pneumonia." Honestly, honestly, I broke into a sweat. After all, if pneumonia is not prolonged and there are no other complications or overlaps or other sorts of things, then there's practically no deaths from pneumonia. Right. Now, this is 70s Soviet Union, but you know, pneumonia is a bad condition, but
something they know well.
Yeah, but it is something that is seen before and is, unless there are other complications, people don't tend to die so rapidly.
Or if you've got like pneumonia brought on by hideous AIDS, cancer, and Ebola.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But this seemed to be almost instantaneous, like the most difficult form they could imagine. Damn. And people were dying so rapidly.
Yeah.
Moreover, people were dying from a sort of strange pulmonary bleeding. So there's a lot of blood on the lungs sort of stuff. And then it dawned suddenly on me, God, some kind of infection. Something is going on. They started to panic. So the head of the admission department. So Margarita Ilyenko, she's the boss. She remembers Rosa Gazavea, the head of the admission department, almost lost her legs. I think went faint or nearly fainted. Or
not like. Yeah. Where the fuck did I put them?
What's going on?
They came in with legs. No legs. I don't get it.
And immediately remembered about artificial respiration. After all, there are I have kids at home, and I'm still young. I want to live. And so they're all starting to panic through there.
Yeah.
There was also, They could be, in terms of how rapid things were, they could be looking at a patient, and 2 or 3 minutes, the patient could be completely calm. 2 or 3 minutes later, and they're dead.
Seriously?
Yeah, covered in these cadaveric spots. I don't know, like
horrible spot things that look like you're a corpse.
Yeah, yes. So all the
I'm
signs.
Definitely giving them mouth to mouth. There's no question.
All the signs of pneumonia, plus other stuff that's gross and like
this is biblical.
Ulcers. It is very biblical, because what they were seeing and what they started to work out were the key symptoms of pulmonary anthrax.
Nice.
So early on, the symptoms manifest in the same sort of way as a lot of common diseases.
Yeah.
Fever, weakness, nausea, coughs, chills. But later, the temperature rises sharply, and they get the difficulty breathing, chest pains, vomiting, and then they go into severe shock.
Yeah.
So their system is just collapsing.
Yeah.
So what do they do?
God, that sounds just excruciating and hideous.
Can you imagine? But you imagine the numbers of people coming in all of a sudden. You just go bang, bang, bang,
what
bang,
is
bang,
going
bang.
on?
You've gone from a normal day, and this would this would be the horror of any hospital that is like the ground zero of a pandemic or an epidemic. It's just like, whoa, we've got at least now, for example, if there's a COVID outbreak, you can imagine say if it happened here in Canberra, it'd be horrible, but you can imagine, okay, we're prepared, we understand this could be a big threat right now. Yeah. But ground zero, you're like, what the hell is going on? And what is the danger here?
Well, what isn't?
What isn't the danger? Now, here's the other thing. Nobody approaches the dead. Everyone is afraid. So they tried they tried to separate them all. Clean wards and infected wards, and the corpses obviously go to the morgues.
Yeah.
But the problem, no one would approach the dead.
No.
No,
you wouldn't.
So she did something that she said was an egregious violation, according to the pedantic administrators. And I can imagine the pedantic administrators of the Soviet Union being very, very pedantic.
No, I have a clipboard for my clipboard. I put on my special extra glasses for ticking box.
So she gathered a whole bunch of plumbers, carpenters, handymen, and gave them a beer, a glass of alcohol, probably vodka, a 3 or a 5, and I assume this means a 3 ruble note or a 5. I know, I'm loving the fact that they have. She says someone a 3 or 5, and it doesn't say if it's rubles or if it's vodka.
US dollars.
Or it could even be not.
I like 3 ounces or 5 ounce drink or something.
It could be a 3 or a 5.
No, I want a 3 ruble note. I think that's fantastic.
I love that. I just love it. Here's the thing.
I don't think I've seen a 3 unit note of anything.
Because they're useless. Like it's.
But 3, what's wrong with 3? It's a lovely number.
It doesn't work in the metric system. Like you have 3.
No, we have it though. It comes after 2.
No, I get as a number
just
it exists.
Before 4.
As a number, it's fine.
On the way to 10.
As a denomination in the currency, I can't imagine anyone going, let's do 3.
Yeah, we need a 3 because it's divisible by itself and 1. It's true. We don't have any prime notes.
Then she slagged them a bit. She said they don't have any shame, but a lot of them refused. And
so this was to encourage them to stay involved.
To move the corpses. They need to move the...
So that's what I mean, like to do something. Yeah. Okay, I'll give you a shot of vodka and 3 rubles.
To go and do what, who was it? Andre and Sergey, the special work of burying these corpses, getting them out of there. People were that worried about what was going on here.
Here's a $1.50.
And here's the story, and it just gets me. I don't know how much this happens. They began to call the relatives to come to the hospital and to take away the bodies of their loved ones. And
hey, Hospital 24 here. Look, your dad's dead. Oh, surprise.
He's
highly, we think, infectious.
But yours now. Yours.
Yeah, and look, we'll give you a shot. When you get here, you get a shot and 3 ruble note. No, they're real. Here's a sheet dipped in, what is it, bleach lime in a sheep's bladder, and you can take them away.
So the response was people would come in and they would throw the person's passport on the table.
And then run?
And then run, which is...
okay, so I've got to...
Which is like taking the plates off a car. Like you're saying, it's yours now. Yours now.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
like nothing to do with me.
But it's also, they've already said this is an infection, or at least seems like one. Mm-hmm. So let's hand the corpses out to people to take who knows where.
In fairness, it is probably the hospital's job. Like whatever system it is.
To hand the bodies off.
I'm thinking in the COVID scenario now that, again, it's not the job of the loved ones to go and take care of the infectious. So
at least... Honestly, a pile in the car park would be better at this instance because you don't know what the hell you're dealing with.
At least it's a clustered pile.
Exactly. This is what I mean. Like you could make decorative shapes with them. You can keep it fun, let the kids get involved, but you don't just send them out willy-nilly into the world.
All right, let's write to Margarita Ilyenko and say, look,
Let's write to her 45 years ago.
Trying to get rid of the corpses. Hold on to the corpses.
Listen.
Put them in the morgue.
Okay.
All right. Let's wind back a little bit. Not very far, because the patients started coming in on April the 4th. But let's go back 2 days earlier to April the 2nd. On the afternoon of April the 2nd, so 2 days before the patients began streaming into Hospital 24, the officers of Military Town number 32.
Good God.
Yeah.
What do we call this city? What do we call the last one? 31. I got it. What's biggest here? Soldiers.
Well,
military.
It's not even a town. It's just basically a suburb of Sverdlovsk. So they had quite a few suburbs that just had numbers.
Okay.
So Military Town number 32 was one of the military suburbs of Sverdlovsk.
Look, it makes more sense. It's just not very romantic.
It's not. Where's your named after your great generals?
But at least where do you live? Suburb 31. I live in suburb 33. Any idea where that is? Pretty close to mine.
No. You do random.
That's
you
fun.
Randomize the number just to fuck with the post office.
Where do you work? The post office.
All lost.
Alrighty.
Anyway, they were all called back to barracks position. Everyone was told, you're not allowed to go out in the town anymore. You got to go back to barracks and we'll just stay there.
Seems reasonable.
On April the 3rd, so again, before all the patients started turning up, Colonel General Efim Ivanovich Smirnov, which I love.
Oh, wow. Got a medal?
He is the most Soviet-looking Soviet general. I got it on YouTube there.
There are so many medals. Or is that a sash?
No, that is medals. And he looks so stern.
Also, Colonel General?
Yeah, they have Colonel Generals.
Corporal, Captain, General, Commander Smith.
They do. They go
Colonel General.
Yeah, I think they had the
Major. Is that Brigadier General? I suppose?
Major General, Lieutenant General, Colonel General,
General.
Yes, General.
Ultra General.
But a General is just General. So
I suppose that's true. We have Major General. One would have Colonel General. Good point.
And the fact that the Major General is below a Lieutenant General.
I've always found that confusing. It goes backwards suddenly.
So I'm not quite sure where the Colonel General is, but I think it's quite close to the top.
Doesn't seem low.
He was the Chief of Staff of the 15th Main Directorate of the General Staff of the USS Armed Forces. So I know. I don't really know. I assume there was hundreds of generals, but he came down to Sverdlovsk and he decreed that all the employees of Military Town number 19, which was next to Military Town number 32,
of course it was.
They had to go undergo a general medical examination and vaccination.
With what?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. What do you need? A vaccine.
Yeah, exactly. Well, why tell people the stuff?
Vaccinate me. What against?
Have.
Bad. Just not that. All right. That's like there's a great movie I saw where there was a dude who's a witness in an American movie, and the dude could not speak English and his language was pretty much made up, and the police lieutenant, whatever, just keeps going, "Get me a translator." What language? I don't fucking care. A translator.
General, other.
Get me a translator. Just like the vaccine. So vaccinate them. What with? We don't care. What do you got?
Well, don't know.
Yeah.
Let's just say that he was concerned for their welfare at that point.
That is fair. I will give him credit for that. Like, if he wants them vaccinated, it means he gives us his.
And let's guess that he might actually have known what to vaccinate them with.
You are so cynical.
I'm just saying.
You are so cynical.
I'm just saying.
You're saying Trump won the election. That's what I'm hearing.
I'm not that cynical.
This is QAnon. Carry on.
Same day, a whole bunch of like the top public health officials of the Soviet Union, and they have again awesome titles like Deputy Minister of Health, the Chief State Sanitary Doctor of the USSR, again a general, so that's General P.N. Burgasov, the Chief Infectious Disease Specialist of the Ministry of Health, Nikorov. They were sent by the Health Minister to fight what they knew would be an epidemic. But
they knew would be an epidemic.
They knew.
Okay.
They knew it would be an epidemic. But the city doctors didn't have a clue because they weren't actually warned about this.
Well, they weren't even captain generals. So how would they know? Need to know.
Lowly.
His eyes only.
So April the 4th, the first sick and dead civilians began appearing, mostly among workers of one of the ceramics factories there, but there were a couple of people dotted around. Yeah,
it's always a ceramics factory.
Again, as they were initially diagnosed with pneumonia. This is what the doctors that were treating them, but pretty quickly they realized that this has got to be pulmonary anthrax. Like,
God damn,
something's going on. Now, the bigwigs in Moscow, This is the people like Smirnov here, the Captain Colonel General with all of the medals.
Yep.
They said, all right, we've got to do 3 things here. First, they said, let's do some autopsies here. And so the autopsy was done in City Hospital number 40.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one for autopsies.
Well, it is the one.
Yeah.
And for the first time, they said, it's cutaneous anthrax. I'll tell you the difference here.
Skin anthrax?
Yes, skin anthrax.
So it comes through the skin.
So there's a big difference. I think there's 3 types, but I don't know what the 3rd type is. So don't worry about it.
Pulmonary, cutaneous, and sexy.
Yeah, the sexy
anthrax.
That's just the band, where you're infected with the band. Pulmonary.
Have you seen them? They're very funny.
Are they? Funny.
I saw them when they were older. Like I saw them about 5-6 years ago, and I walked into this. It was a.
Did they? Oh no, it
They were
wasn't
hilarious.
It wasn't Shihad that changed their name to Anthrax, was it? No.
Anthrax were always as long as I've known it. But I walked into it was what is it? Not Download, the big one that used to be here.
One of the big festivals.
Yeah, one of the
Shockwave,
big but heavy. Soundwave. Yeah, the big heavy things. And I heard Anthrax were playing. I thought, that'll be interesting. I walked in, and I've never seen a band have so much fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
They were laughing their dates off the whole time. So Anthrax seems hilarious to me. That's why you got sexy Anthrax.
I am with that. Like a band having fun, that's the best thing.
So happy. They were so happy to be there.
I'm there to join in on that.
Yeah. Anyway, that's an aside.
So yeah, the first thing they did is they said, let's do an autopsy, but let's this is not the lung anthrax.
No.
This is skin anthrax, cutaneous anthrax. And you know how you get that? You get it from eating the meat of sick animals. So anthrax comes from cows.
Skin?
No,
Yeah.
anthrax comes from cows, and you can get cutaneous.
I thought it came from spores that were in the dirt or something.
Sure,
and
but
the cows
it's associated with cows. Yes.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
and so that's one way that you can get anthrax.
Yeah.
Is through the cows catching it from the dirt, and then
you eat the cow,
and then you eat the cow,
and you get dirt plague.
But at that point, you would get cutaneous anthrax, even if it's in your stomach from eating the meat. And cutaneous anthrax, in general, is not so bad. So you can get anthrax on your skin, and you develop an ulcer.
Different to breathing it in.
And much different to breathing it in. You breathe it in, and you're getting all the same sort of ulcers in your lungs. And so cutaneous anthrax is not good, but it's not. It's
true. Like
so
I've got
bad.
a pimple on my face. Yeah, that's a bit of a disappointment. I've got a pimple on the inside of my lung. Different story.
And so you'd get it, on your face, your neck, your hands and forearms, stuff like that. And in fact, as we now know from this, there were a bunch of people getting the cutaneous form of anthrax in the area at the time. So,
AKA the lucky ones.
probably. So here is Fina Abramova.
Perfect accent.
She was from the Sverdlovsk Medical Institute, and she was an associate professor there. And so she was doing autopsies. So one Saturday, it was early April, a strong young man, not a young strong man,
Definitely not young,
a young strong man.
That's
weird.
weird.
So there was a carnival in town, and the strong men were there. There was the old strong man, the young strong man. No, it was brought to us, and he died. But on Monday he died unexpectedly. I was asked to advise the specialists. They say very complicated.
It already kills. It actually kills dudes now. That's an issue.
I'll come to that in a bit. There's actually something really interesting about the dude killing nature of this.
Well, we are weak.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. That's true. So we performed an autopsy. Immediately, we were struck by the lymph nodes and the lungs. So she's like, all right, this is giving a lot of signs of the pulmonary anthrax.
Yeah.
So she's saying, is what's going on in the city? Is there a hotbed of infection? And so everything's going on there. But not long later, they were summoned to the head of the regional health department, and they said, yes, that is anthrax. It comes from the meat. And they believed. So the story got out, even amongst the professors and the medical people, that this is all coming from bad meat. And so I'm
going to go with a theory. It wasn't.
Maybe.
I'm guessing. Take a drink, man. You can take a drink. You've got time. I'll keep talking. See, while Will has a drink, so there's no dead air time, we can keep making noises. And then Will's back.
Thank you. Second thing,
Yeah.
so the government put out a whole bunch of warnings. They put out a whole bunch.
They did.
Yeah, they said careful of eating bad meat. So the newspaper Uralski Rabochi published the following thing: in Sverdlov and the region, cases of cattle diseases have become more frequent. Low quality feed for cows was delivered to the collective farm. The city administration urges all residents of Sverdlovsk to refrain from buying meat in random places. including the markets.
So what's a non-random place?
I don't know. I just don't buy it off the street. Just don't buy bad meat. It's
Don't
the
buy
meat.
street meat.
And so they put up posters all over the place,
Yeah.
depicting a cow and the word anthrax. So they're saying, look,
Cool.
careful of the bad meat. There's bad meat going around. People are dying, so don't eat bad meat.
Yeah.
But also the third thing that they did is the KGB came in and confiscated all of the medical and hospital records that were associated. So
Cool.
which is interesting. It's interesting because if you're worried about cows, I'm not so sure that the KGB really cares.
It's the cow GB.
It might be.
They're very specific. They're a bovine task force. They really care about all those.
I just think once the KGB has confiscated all the records, you can just assume
it ain't about cows anymore.
No, it's really not.
I feel like it's cows and other
weaponized cows, maybe.
Ooh.
So at this point, they put out an official version, and the
You
Soviet
can never say official in Russia without doing the air quotes.
official. No,
It is official.
no. I think that's implied. Implied in Soviet Russia that
All air quotes, really.
well, official. Just
The
maybe
Politburo is going to tell us something.
maybe we just take the word official to mean something slightly different. It doesn't mean
that's true.
truthful. It just means coming from the central government.
The powerful folk.
Yeah, it just that's what it means. It doesn't mean
So it should be the powerful version.
the powerful version.
Yeah.
So what did they say? The outbreak was caused by eating meat from infected livestock. At some point, they said there was a rabid dog involved, but I'm not sure how that.
There's always rabid dog.
I don't know what the connection
Age-old
is.
story.
So
Rabid
it was
dog.
it was all. So they blamed it on the farm of the cattle of citizen V. Perevalov in the village of Avarinsky. So he got anthrax, his cows got anthrax, mass death, they killed them all, but it spread throughout other things. And then they said, look, it was pretty bad. For 2 to 3 weeks, there was a high mortality rate from the disease, five people per day, and it seems like it lasted until June the 12th for them. And they said, look, it was bad, 64 people died.
It's also very exciting that village had a name, not a number, just by the way.
I don't know how they kept their name.
Very exciting.
It's much harder to say the name.
I know, the village 7.
Way easier for us Westerners to say.
Yeah.
So that was the official version, and that official version lasted for quite some time. That it was meat from cows that got sick.
Till 1998.
Not quite, and it came out. It came out in an interesting way.
Yeah.
So the first reports of this story came out. How much longer? About 6 months later.
Okay.
First, it came out in West Germany, and I'm not sure the pathway here.
West Germany.
Yeah, so it came out in a newspaper in West Germany, which is called Bild Zeitung, which is basically it's the big tabloid of
The
Germany.
Times.
Not the Times. It's
Zeitung is Times, but Bild is picture, like Picture Times, I think.
Picture Times.
I think it means Picture Times,
here,
literally.
I grabbed a picture of what it looks like now. It's very.
I think Bild means picture. I could be wrong. My German's a bit old, but Zeitung is like time or times.
Okay. Yeah, it could be. Yeah,
something times.
So it's big. It's a big circulation newspaper. It's like the 16th biggest newspaper in the world.
Good God!
And
in the world,
notorious for its mix of gossip, inflammatory language, and sensationalism.
Much like the Wholesome Show.
Has a huge influence on German politicians. So I think it's a little bit like the Daily Telegraph or the.
But also
Wholesome.
again, much like the Wholesome Show.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. The nearest English language equivalent is the Sun, which they consider their special rival.
Yay.
Again, not like the Wholesome Show. I don't
Classy. No, now you've gone too far, man.
Okay. So they said that more than 1,000 people had died after an explosion in a plant producing bacteriological weapons.
Oh, what an excellent thing to happen.
Yeah. 6 months later, things were very slow back then. So
I like that though. It seems more
remember
relaxing.
the first thing is April, and then the story came out in Bild Zeitung in like October. And then in February 19th, 1980, the Soviet press agency TASS said bullshit, or they said this is just anti-Soviet hysteria. And
fake news.
This report from the West German paper is from beginning to end a malicious invention that has absolutely nothing to do with actual fact.
I'd forgotten about TASS.
Yeah, well,
honestly, it's like, oh yeah.
But the idea of a news agency telling you some sort of official version of the whole country,
it's relaxing. You don't have to search anymore.
The next story was in the New York Times. They were a lot more calm. They didn't say it was 1,000. Soviet mishap tied to germ war plant.
Mishap.
So,
Oopsie.
Washington, March 18. The United States today said that it received disturbing indications that a large number of people in Sverdlovsk, a major Soviet city, might have been accidentally contaminated a year ago by a lethal biological agent. And it just blows my mind, though, that you would get news and report, this is front page of the New York Times, page 1, that a year ago, a large number of people might have died. Wow. It's just,
like what? As opposed to 6 seconds ago, here's 12 videos about it.
It's just amazing that stories took that long to circulate. And I know, obviously, such a different world, both technologically and politically, but it's
so much more relaxing, though. Like, I'm old enough to remember reading the paper.
Indeed.
Actually physically getting a paper and going, I did not know that. It was actually a calming thing to do as opposed to doom scrolling Twitter and going, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit.
Papers are lovely. Papers they are so lovely and genteel. If we could go back to that world, a chunk of me would like that.
And you go to a cafe, you get a coffee and a croissant, and you slowly drink. Obviously, you'd have a cheru.
And you doom scroll through the paper.
Yeah, no, you just read it calmly and go like,
no, you doom scroll through the paper.
But there's not enough doom because it's a year old at least. I also love the tentative language. Mishap. Possibly, maybe a little bit of a tad of things.
They were much more New York Timesy than Bild was very Sun. Like they built it up into something way more. I think the other thing about the newspaper era, you've read it all, and that's the news.
You're done.
You're done.
You are informed.
You are up to date with the day, and you're done. You can go on your merry business.
No, you know what you do? You want to be really informed? You read 2 different papers.
Stop it. That's way too much. That's way too much.
I used to read both papers.
They did quote an official, a couple of State Department officials and another unnamed official who said, we think this might be anthrax bacteria, which is almost fatal to humans. And he said 300 to 500 people may have died a matter of hours. And troops have sealed off the area, but we didn't know. All right.
Anthrax.
Matthew Messelson was born in Denver, Colorado, in 1930. He went to elementary school in Los Angeles, California. He was interested in chemistry and physics as a kid, and he did a lot of natural science experiments at home.
This is not starting in a way that makes me comfortable.
No, don't worry about him. No, he's a nice guy. He's fine. I'm just going to give spoiler. Spoiler. No, well, one spoiler. He still works, and he's 90 as professor at Harvard. And I'm like,
damn.
On one side, I'm saying give a job to someone younger, but on the other side, I'm like, damn, you are
keep the brains trust, man.
You are healthy and still going. So
90.
Yeah. Oh, look.
Wow.
Well, yeah, as someone still working during World War II, he attended summer camps and did extra summer school. So he did his high school way faster.
Yeah.
So that he could get to uni faster. He applied to go to the University of Chicago, but they said, "Look, sorry, no, not University of Chicago." From a local university, but they said, "Sorry, you've gone too fast and you haven't done enough phys ed. You need 3 years of phys ed before you can come here."
For fuck's sake. How many push-ups can you do? I got straight A's in shit that you don't understand.
No,
how many push-ups can you do?
Did you do? You need 3 years worth.
3 years of push-ups.
Seriously, I'm just blown away by that.
That's wild.
He went to University of Chicago, and then he travelled around Europe after World War II, where he spent most of his time reading and making friends. The making friends bit's good. Oh, you should read. I get it.
And make friends. And do push-ups.
He came back.
How do you make friends if you can't do heaps of push-ups? I mean, that's always been my go-to. Pleased to meet you. Watch this.
Don't you? This is how you make friends.
That's what I do. Like shake hands and then down you go.
People who push up together.
Shush up together.
I don't know about.
Stoop up. Hang out.
Something.
Weird.
What do you do?
You can have a drink. I'll keep talking. It's fine.
No, he went back to Caltech. And there, he didn't like much of the courses that he did there, but he did enroll in Linus Pauling's freshman chemistry course.
Oh, God.
Which he did like. And then he became friends with Linus Pauling's both son and daughter. And Linus Pauling's son was named Peter, which is Peter Pauling, which that's just a bit too much of a name. Linda Pauling is a legitimate name, but
Peter Pauling. That's a sound effect.
So he went to a swimming pool party at the Pauling home in Sierra Madre.
Yeah, that sounds like a euphemism, but carry on.
It does, but I don't think there is a euphemism here.
Swimming pool party.
And Linus Pauling said, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing when you?"
Linus Pauling.
After
it's like Einstein said, "What you up to, chap?"
Well,
like,
literally, what are you doing next year?
Yeah.
And he said, "I'm gonna go back to University of Chicago." And Pauling said, "No, screw that shitty uni." I don't know if he said that. And he said, "Come to Caltech and do grad studies with me." So
really, I'm going to have another swim now because that's fantastic. And talk to Peter.
Look, and a Nobel Prize winner.
Yeah,
a twice Nobel Prize winner.
Is it twice?
Linus Pauling? Yeah, I think so.
I'm going to agree with you.
He's one of the few that did get it twice, but then he went weird over vitamin C.
and racism.
Did he?
I don't know.
Two places to go weird and
Vitamin C and racism.
They don't often overlap.
No, they do. Look at Hitler.
Was he a vitamin C guy?
He was a vitamin everything. Like he was, he was a puritanical vegan weird boy.
Look, I know.
And a racist, allegedly. Yeah. Allegedly.
Look, as one of our actually unreleased episodes that we will release sometime when we're too lazy to do an episode, we'll release on smoking. So, anyway,
do we still have another one in the can? My
we do.
goodness,
No, it's the one on smoking and who was the first to try and stop
on how
smoking.
tops it is.
Yeah, no,
next week because it's my birthday.
Is it?
I'm going away.
Oh, nice. What do they do? Okay, no. Here's the thing. He went and did his PhD under Linus Pauling. He did his PhD on. I'm only saying this doctoral dissertation because I'll tell you another doctoral dissertation a little bit later in this story.
And later on, then I'll read you mine.
No. I'm just
I brought it with me.
It's just titles. Oh. So this one is equilibrium density gradient centrifugation and X-ray crystallography. Just remember that one. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you the. I will. I'll tell you not the title, but the topic of another PhD thesis a little bit later.
Okay.
Anyway, in 1963, Messelson did a little bit of a summer camp, a resident consultant in the U.S. Army Arms Control and Disarmament Agency, and he became interested in chemical and biological weapons there. Okay. So when he was doing that, there was a government official who showed him around America's biological and chemical arsenal, and the government official was like, "My God, this is so cool!" Like,
what a strange tour!
Oh wow!
Over here we keep the stuff that only affects people with blue eyes. Over here we get the one that gets you in the date. This one does both. We're not even sure what that one does, so don't breathe in deeply as we walk past that. Hold your breath.
Can you believe it? Like, and so small. I mean, I'm going to tell you in a second. Like chemical and biological weapons were mostly. So there was chemical weapons conventions after World War I, but there was more to come later.
Yeah.
But the biological weapons convention was signed like 10 years after this. So that was by Nixon. And so at that point, America has a legitimate, solid biological weapons campaign, and he's being shown around.
I'm going to take you on a tour.
And so here's the thing. This is what Messelson said. This guy is going crazy. He's like, look at this. This is just so wild. And at first, it seemed odd to me that anyone would think it was a good idea to be able to kill people cheaply. So the people.
Oh, God.
So this guy that was showing him around was saying, you could kill all the people, but the buildings, they left intact.
Like a neutron bomb, man. Awesome.
Well, exactly.
Awesome.
So what you do is you get rid of people and you can just use their infrastructure.
Why are you frowning? Didn't you hear what I said? All the infrastructure's intact.
We keep it all, and so and this is the good thing that I mean. Messelson is a good guy, but one of the really important things here, it dawned on me that it would be in the interest of the United States to keep war so expensive that only we could afford it. And this is the weird bit of it's the combination of realpolitik where Nixon is like, I like winning wars, but also I'll ban these things that are really horrible because they're cheap. And it's just so, that's the union of, there's something good going on here. Like Nixon said, let's get rid of chemical weapons, biological weapons.
Oh, that's tough.
Because they're a weapon of the poor. And it's like,
it's the one time you go, yeah, fuck the poor.
Yes.
No, it is. It is.
Look, the argument there, war should be as expensive as possible.
Yes.
Like as an argument to stop people doing it.
Yeah.
Make it.
We're going to make this really hard.
And here's where Nixon was like, and yes, we're rich. So yes, let's do this.
Wait a minute.
I was like, you're a bad guy, but this is good.
You have a point. To be fair though, the US since him and during his time really haven't gone to war. It's been fine. It proves that wealth keeps the peace.
Yes, it does.
Next episode on.
So anyway, Messelson worked a fair bit in that sort of era, and later on to help get rid of biological weapons, by talking to Congress, talking to Nixon, and he did a lot of the argument. And look, the biological weapons ban in 1972 was in part a lot of other people, but Messelson was involved in that. Anyway, in April 1980, the CIA called Messelson in to say, all right, we got to find a little bit about this anthrax outbreak, and this is a year after it happened.
Yeah.
So it's basically after the New York Times report. So about 6 weeks after the New York Times report, it's like,
Hey,
we should investigate that.
Wait a minute.
It's the slow process of government there.
I was lining my budgie cage, and I looked at the front page and went, "Oh, hang on."
I read that story. We should do something about that.
Yeah,
we should
maybe
check it out.
I got the fish and chips. I unwrapped them, and it turns out there was a thing 6 months to 12 years ago. Okay.
So Messelson was brought in first by the CIA to investigate what was going on in this. Now, they said, all right, find out what you can and tell us what you reckon. So first of all, he couldn't do very much because all he could do was the press reports. And he's like, on the basis of available evidence, their explanation is plausible, but we should do an on-site investigation.
Yeah.
Now, that's not very easy to do.
Not in 1980, and you're American.
No, not at all.
Do you mind if we pop over Brezhnev?
Just a little bit.
Khrushchev.
Can we look at...
Who was it then? Khrushchev?
I think it might be Yuri Andropov by that time.
Andropov, the giant plane.
Yes.
Did they make a giant plane that was named after him? You could put a rocket in it. It looks like...
I think that might be the Ekrano plane.
It's got like 800 engines on each wing.
That's the Ekrano plane. The awesome thing about the Ekrano plane is that it flies like 5 meters above the surface of the sea. It's designed to fly. It gets a buffer zone just above the,
and it can kill things 9 miles down.
Oh my god! It's this huge like jumbo jet sized thing, and it's just like, can you imagine this thing?
I think it gave me a haircut.
Yeah.
Okay, so whoever it was,
he started asking. He started writing to Moscow and saying, "Can I come? Can I come? Can I come? Can I come? Can I come?" A while later, they said, "Sure." So 1986.
Oh, so they'd already sold it, didn't care anymore.
I don't know. Like 1986. Remember, things are changing. Gorbachev came in 1985.
So the wall went down 87.
The wall went down 1989.
That's what I meant. Numbers, whatever.
Details, but it actually does matter in this story. Like the timing of this does matter. 1986, so Glasnost and Perestroika, their openness, and they're saying let's investigate stuff, but they weren't investigating here. They said you can come to Moscow, but not to Sverdlovsk, and you can meet some people that 4 of the doctors who are involved. And
meet them at a distance, maybe with bag on head.
And all of the doctors will say it was the meat. It was the meat.
Of course they will.
And so they all said it was the meat. And Messelson's issued a report saying, look, they said it was the meat, and we still need more information. But,
it's a short report.
Now, during this time, things started opening up in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
So there starts to be different sorts of opinions within the Soviet Union about what's going on, but a lot of the Soviet generals still held to the line.
Yeah.
So one of them went to the US in 1988 to say the same thing. It was poisoned meat.
It's meat.
It was meat.
I brought some in box.
Who wants meat?
It's in box.
Lovely meat.
Safe box.
And then they did this weird open day in 1990.
Open day?
Like I'll come to the facility where things actually happened. They had an open day.
Open day. Bring the kids, take a balloon.
Who wants to see bioprepared? We have biological weapons
and fairy floss.
or little ride for children.
You want a banger? Is what they call sausage in Australia.
Ask any question you like.
Also anthrax dish.
Except rumors about explosion, about anthrax, not true.
His balls.
So they had an open day, and they said,
"That's hilarious."
What is it? Rumors that circulated around the city in the spring of 1979 about an alleged explosion on the territory of our institution, the release of anthrax, is no real basis. No
real basis.
So a lot of people are working to try to cover up, but other people are trying to uncover.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Messelson said, "Look." Still, they're saying it's meat, but maybe it's not.
No.
So he kept asking, can I come back? Can I actually go to Sverdlovsk? Can I actually do a little bit more? And he did. He got a chance.
Yes.
He got a chance to go in June 1992 and August 1993. But before he got on the plane to Russia, a couple of weird things happened. So there was a bunch of Russian media that this is opened up now. It's still Soviet media, but they're saying, okay, something weird happened in Sverdlovsk.
Yeah.
And in 1991, Boris Yeltsin who had actually been he'd been the local party guy in Sverdlovsk in 1979, but now he was
and then he became the National Party guy because we all saw him.
He would but here's the weird thing. He said let's open this up and find out what the origin is, and then in May 1992 he just blurted it out. The KGB, they tell me the military developments were the cause. And he didn't say anything else, but he said
it's enough.
It's totally enough. And all he said was, it was military. It wasn't not meat anymore. It's
not
military.
cows. Anyway, I've been drinking heavily since I was 9. I mean, Boris was not famous for not being smashed all the time.
No, but
which is saying something in Russia.
He probably did some good.
I'm not saying he was a bad guy. I mean, drunk leader of a major power.
So this is like literally a few days before Messelson was going to jump on the plane and go and visit. And Yeltsin said, at this point, the story had been it was poisoned. It was bad meat from bad cows. And Yeltsin's just gone,
oh,
nah, mate. Nah, look, military developments. And this is told me by the KGB. So.
Yeah. Look, the secret police told me this. I might be a bit pissed right now, but that doesn't mean I'm not telling the truth.
So Messelson went into Sverdlovsk and he spent a few months there. He compiled a whole bunch of data. Well, I think months, but it doesn't matter. And this data came from KGB lists. So the KGB were quite open at this time.
That's weird. Did a young Vladimir Putin help him out by any chance?
Look, it's possible, but he got the names of all the people that had died, where they lived, where they worked. He went and did a whole bunch of interviews with the friends and the relatives of the people who had died.
So they seriously didn't give a shit if people found out anymore.
They really things had changed so much at this point, and they said just go and do it. And he had a whole bunch of he had research associates from Russia that he'd sit in the car and then they'd go in and talk to these people. And he says, we had no idea what would happen when we knocked on the door and said we wanted to talk about anthrax. I love a little bit of problem though, leading your question. I want to talk about anthrax. Was it anthrax? Would the female investigators be kicked out? Nobody kicked them out. Everyone gave them tea and cake, which sounds very Russian.
Who'd you say no to faster? Like, I want to talk to you about the Lord, our Savior, Jesus Christ, and they knock on your door, or I want to talk to you about anthrax. I'm like, I'll talk to the anthrax guy over the Lord and Savior guy.
I'll listen to anthrax.
Yeah.
What else did he get? He got some grave markers in the special anthrax cemetery of the cemetery. He got pathologist notes. He got maps. He also got archived meteorological data from the airport collected in America. So they had data going back years and years and years what the wind was doing on the day at the time
of the non-explosion.
So here's what they found out. The homes showed no real pattern. There was no real pattern. Yeah. But then you get to this map that he made when you show the time of day where they worked and who got sick, and this just blows my mind. So I can show you.
That's because it's a map, right?
See these? It's small. See the little red? I'll show you on YouTube there. But where they were when they got infected.
It's a pretty specific little
it's a
little
very
line
specific,
there, isn't it?
It's a very specific little pattern. And the thing
you can't
is,
miss it. Yeah.
All of them are 100% downwind from
a certain place.
A certain place. Compound 19. Compound 19. So everything is showing
next to compound 38.
Yeah. I can't remember I can't remember the numbers anymore.
Yeah, it's so confusing compared to Sverdlovsk.
So at this point, they published this article in Science in 1994. It was absolutely clear that this was some sort of aerosol release of anthrax.
Fuck me.
So an aerosol version of anthrax was released, and it blew through the air there, and infected people at the ceramics factory, which it was a whole bunch of people, and then all people directly in a line. You can see it. It's just so...
It's crystal clear.
And the thing that blows my mind, it's like Jon Snow's map. Once you do a map of...
This would be the Jon Snow of cholera fame, not the guy who killed Daenerys Targaryen.
Yes, indeed. That's a spoiler. People might not have seen it yet.
She got killed by Jon Snow.
Okay, so Jon Snow mapped all the cholera people, and once you put it on a map, you can go, okay, there's something geographical going on here. Yeah. And same with this. There is something totally geographical going on.
Maps save lives.
Maps do save lives. They've saved many lives. The story came out, the full story. So at this point, it was pretty clear. Some sort of aerosol anthrax had been released from compound military town number 19. The final, not the final story, because we're still not sure what the final story is. A next chunk of the story came from a guy called Kanatazan Byzakovich Alibekov, or Ken Alibek. He He was the director of the Soviet bioprepare program. So he was the director of bioweapons from 1975 until 1990.
Oh,
so he was the boss. He was the boss.
Done a lot.
He emigrated to the US after this, and he wrote a book. And this is where the story comes from. But before that, I'll just tell you what his PhD thesis was on. Oh. So Messelson's was like something totally...
Subungulate crystalline bastrophosphophy.
Alibek developed a biological weapon based on tularemia for his PhD thesis. So...
wow!
There you go. How many people have developed a biological weapon for their PhD thesis?
Here we are in Australia going like, we want to make sure that research, the Liberal government at the moment says, your research should make a difference, have an impact and be industry implications.
Yeah, you go.
I got something.
Biological weapon.
I think it's worth some cash. We can commercialize this. Can I have $2,000 a year?
I just got to say, like this Ken Alibek, he seems to be, from what I can see, a decent guy. Like he's told interesting stories about what happened, and he was working for a government, and the government prioritized a certain form of weapon. But seriously, as your PhD thesis, I made a biological weapon.
Okay.
So his stories, he told a lot of stories, and these are partly based on his own knowledge of the event, but also on the KGB investigation of the event. So the KGB investigated, they found out what happened. They're like, okay, we know what happened.
We bury it.
On the last Friday in March 1979, the production of spores of anthrax were suspended. One of the lab workers removed a filter that prevented the release of spores into the surrounding space. Mm-hmm. He left a note about this. I assume it's like a Post-it note, or whether the Soviet equivalent,
the Russian version
of a Post-it note, saying don't put this back on, or make sure you put this back on. But he didn't make a proper entry in the journal.
Oh,
the next shift supervisor, I assume this is probably the Monday morning after the weekend, came in and switched on the equipment. And a few hours later, it was discovered that the filter was not installed. So the guy that caused it was Nikolai Chernyshev. Ken Alibek named him because I think he was pretty pissed at him. He went on to have other jobs in the Soviet biological weapons.
Which perhaps he shouldn't have?
He probably, he fucked up and probably killed a few people.
We killed some fucks. Yep.
Indeed.
Yep.
So at this point, they knew that he'd switched it on, like the next supervisor had switched it on, but there was no filter there. So he's like,
"Hey mate,
some shit might have gone out into the air."
Did you not see my Post-it note?
It seems like a gram of anthrax spores were blown by the fan out into the...
A gram caused it?
A gram of anthrax spores were blown by the fan into the exhaust system, out through the military compound windows.
No. A gram caused all this.
Yeah, a gram.
A gram.
Minimum 66 deaths. It could be a lot more. But
you got to be kidding me. So randomly released, so to speak, random as in accidentally, over, I don't know how big that map is. How many meters, kilometers, whatever is that?
That's many kilometers.
Many kilometers in a specific line, 1 gram.
Yes.
I had no idea.
Here's the other. I don't actually have the right map for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is Sverdlovsk. This is just a little area of Sverdlovsk. If the wind had been blowing in that direction.
Oh my God.
So remember, this is a city of 1.2 million people, and we've got 66 in the official version dying. It could have been hundreds of thousands of people.
I have no idea it was that strong. Like, I assumed if you wanted to kill a bunch of people and throw it into the wind, it would take kilos.
No, it was just the fan blowing over these spores.
So this proves that Post-it notes do not save lives.
No, they don't. No, you need and seriously, if it's between a filtration system that will stop thousands of people dying and putting a Post-it, do something more than that.
Yeah, 2 Post-it notes.
A pile of Post-it. Here we go. One over the switch. It says, "Don't turn me on until you've put the filter back."
So you're an innovator, though. That's why you get the big bucks. That's why you're highly qualified.
So, it could have been hundreds of thousands.
One
of people.
goddamn gram.
It could have been so many people. Like, it just blew in. Luckily, it blew in possibly the least populated direction it could have gone. The rest of the city could have. So
outrageous.
Yeah, and it's just, once, and so this was published in Science, and once you see that map, you go, oh, there's nothing other. Like, it is so clearly, it's coming from that point, and it's clearly a military facility.
A bajillion %.
So, since that time, there's been later work that where there's an interesting story where some other scientists have gone around. Some people hid some autopsy samples from the KGB, which sounds like a great thing to do.
Does it?
Yeah, sure. like
When any sentence that starts with, so we hid some autopsy samples. Let's ignore the fact it's in Russia or whatever. I'm just like, you what? Why did you have them? Why are you hiding them? Where are you hiding them?
We hid them.
What are you going to do with them later?
We hid them from the KGB.
Because?
Well, because they thought that there was more that needed to be done.
Did you put them in the fridge? I mean, what?
No, like I think this was like
It's not good.
what's the alcohol, ethyl alcohol and stuff like that. Like they're stored in jars and shit like that. So
Oh, it's fine. So it's fine.
So
fine.
it's just like
It's
imagine you're in the pathology department and there's like a whole row of jars of weird shit and they
Just
know
take a little bit.
But here's the thing: the pathologist knew that jar there, hidden behind, had some samples from the anthrax bacteria, and so. Later, so there have been DNA analysis of the autopsy sample, and they found out it was the most lethal strain of the most powerful strain of anthrax in the Soviet arsenal.
Yeah. The most powerful. Why not? Why not?
Yeah, well, and this was the one that they had planned to put on intercontinental ballistic missiles to target America.
Why? All you need to do is put a fan on, and you can kill half of everyone.
Okay, what happened from here? So the relatives and the families were initially paid 50 rubles each for their suffering.
In 3 ruble notes. Not easy.
Well, this seems to be either $85 US or possibly about $2. So not very much.
Look, I'm going to go either way. Thanks.
Not very much. In 1992, Yeltsin signed a law of the Russian Federation on improving the retirement benefits of families of citizens who died due to anthrax in the city of Sverdlovsk in 1979, saying that this was the equivalent of equating it in sort of governmental apologies with Chernobyl, and actually recognizing the responsibility of the military bacteriologists for the deaths.
Wow.
There was someone tried to sue recently in 2015 for 6 million rubles, but the court denied compensation. There is one final story.
Because court cost, 170 billion rubles, and so it didn't make any sense.
So there's one final story, and this is why it's such a ripe ground for conspiracy mongering. That something about 75% of the deaths, of the known deaths, and of the suspected deaths as well, appear to be men who are of a military fighting age between 20 and 45. And so
that's well targeted.
Well, this is what Lev Fedorov, president of the Union for Chemical Safety, says there's more still to be discovered here. The military has developed a new type of biological weapon. It has no effect at all on children, adolescents, and the elderly.
Right.
And that was true from the deaths. And has little effect on women. Basically, this type of weapon destroys the manpower of a potential enemy. That is, the men of a mature age. He reckons.
That's some pretty specific. That's some excellent DNA work.
Their theory is that this was a biological weapon being developed that would target just the enemy troops,
just soldiers.
I don't know, but this is such a ripe ground for conspiracy theories. But my God, it's just.
Look, I got to say, slightly related. Whenever I hear the word aerosol, I'm just reminded of a joke I really enjoy.
Tell me.
Which is the Swedish man goes into the chemist. Good afternoon. I would like to buy some aerosol, some deodorant, please. And the pharmacist says, certainly ball or aerosol. He says, neither. I'd like it for my armpits. So I cannot hear aerosol without hearing that joke every time. Which is the perfect way to, wind up a very serious story of horror.
Well, there you go. That's good stories there.
You're welcome.
Good times.
And we've trivialized the whole thing.
I don't know. Whatever. Who cares about anyone in 1,000 years from time?
Well, maybe people listen to this in 1,000 years and they're thinking, who are we going to resurrect? Oh, turns out not them.
Not them. Don't worry about it.
Not those mother.
I don't really want to be resurrected. I'd take it. You can resurrect me.
Of course you would.
If you're listening.
Do you know what I'd take above that?
What?
Not having to be resurrected.
Nice. You lived all the way through all of the drudge years of
Look, I've been watching The Expanse lately, and it's
2300s.
very exciting. The idea of a solar system that we move around in.
The Wholesome Show is
unrelated to this
me,
episode.
Will Grant, and him,
Not Will Grant.
Rod Lamberts. Not very matching T-shirts, but
No.
they're kind of. Brought to you by the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Science.
And special jobs.
And special work. Special work.